Okay, we are learning the Maimer Ani L'Doidi Aleph, the first one. We've learned it before. We're going to learn it again. It's on top of page 3 of the PDF. So the Maimer goes, Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. It's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim. I'm to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. And the four words, the Rashi Tevis, the first letters of each word, make up Rashi Tevis Elul, make up the word Elul, which is the month we're in. But Indian, the idea is like this. What does I need the doidi v'doidi li? What does I'm to my beloved and my beloved to me have to do with El? So Indian like this. Ki be'elul maschel b'chinas ani l'doidi. This is the famous mimer of El from the Alter Rebbe about the example given of what is El and the connection between El and the king in the field. So the Rebbe is like this. Indian ki be'elul maschel b'chinas ani l'doidi. Let's make sure I got the right settings here. Yeah, Elul starts the avoda of I'm to my beloved, which means that our avoda towards Hashem, we have to go to our beloved. The Haidum Bechinas is Sirusa, it's an awakening from below, that we go towards Hashem. Ad Rosh Hashanah, and this avoda of I'm to my beloved is until Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim and Yom Kippur, because also the end of the letters of Anila Dodi V'Dodi Li is Yud, 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 which is 4 times Yud. Each one is 10, makes up 40. And those are the 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu was went up to get the second Luchais and final forgiveness. And we started on Rosh Chodesh Elul and finished on Yom Kippur. So up until Rosh Hashanah is the Avodah Vanila Dodi, which is a Sirusa Dilatat, an awakening from below. Ad Yom Kippurim hu bechinas smoila bechinas yira. Then it's a avoda of from the left, which is yira. Fisha azuzman his galas machusis Baruch Hashem reveals himself. Sorry, I skipped that one. This Kibe'elu maschel bechinas ani ledodi. Back a paragraph. Elu starts the avoda divine to my beloved. Haina bechinas is tata, an awakening from below. Ad Rosh Hashanah till Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim. Shem bechinas hamshachas elikusa yisparach lemata bechinas is galas. That on Rosh Hashanah is the revelation from above down. Hashem is revealing Himself down in this world, like it says, "Smoy letachas l'reishi." V'yiminich techapkeni. Tzmel tachas l'reishi is referring to the days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which is the left hand is under, supports my head. And v'yimini techapkeni is talking about sukkahs, where God hugs us like a sukkah. We're in an embrace by a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Because mi Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippur, from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur included, is bechinas smoile bechinas yira. That's a time of fear, like we call the days of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Yomim Nerayim, the days of awe, which is from the word Yira. Because Rosh Hashanah is the revelation from above. God's kingship is revealed to creation and to the Jewish people. Therefore, we emphasize the idea of God as king. God's kingdom and kingship is over all creation and all worlds. Even the hidden worlds, which are much more lofty and spiritual than our physical world. Here is Tipol Aleim Emas Melech Upachtoi. There's a fear of the revelation of God as King, that revelation is tremendous. So the Avodah of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which is Yira, which is Smoili Tachas Reishi, that's Avodah, that's the revelation from above. And from this revelation of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, so it comes down Gam Lamatan to this world, Al Klos and Shamis Yisrael, comes down even to the Jewish people in this physical world, the Kabbalah Malchus Shemaim Aleim, that because there's a revelation of God's greatness, so we accept God as King, as a response to God's revelation. V'tir Yerasi Al Paneim, and we have fear of God visually on us, Kol Hashanah, throughout the year. So the days of awe, not just days of awe, but the days of awe that actually bring fear and awe to Hashem and His kingship throughout the year. Because to have proper fear and love of Hashem is not something that could be created by a person on their own. And therefore it takes the revelation of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur to awaken this fear that we're talking about that we get throughout the year from Rosh Hashanah. It's because it's a response of God's revelation. It's a ray that comes from above. When God's great kingship is revealed to us, it inspires us to have a Yiras Hashem. The Hainu Rosh Hashanah, Bechinas Yira, and that is what Rosh Hashanah is. The 10 days of Tshuva is the level of Smoile Tachas L'Reishi, which is the idea of Yira. which because of the revelation, that's my beloveds to me. Meaning to say, what the Alter Rebbe is saying here is there's two avodas. There's avodah of Elul, which is Anila Dodi. I'm to my beloved. It's us reaching towards God. It's Rusul Tata. And the avoda of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is the response, V'doidi li, my beloveds to me. And that's God revealing himself to us. And our response to that is that it brings us Yiras Shemayim, brings us fear of God and accepting of his kingship throughout the year. But in order for us to be in the experience of Rosh Hashanah, which is V'doidi li, God is to us, my beloveds to me. Although he said in the beginning, a second ago, that proper fear and love comes from above, means it's a response to the revelation from Hashem towards us. That is the proper fear and love. But we have to also do what we can do from our side, and that's the avodah of Elul, which is Anila Dodi. So, like the Rebbe explains later in the Maimarim, there's many Maimarim from Chassidus, from in Chabad about the idea of Anila Dodi. So then the Rebbe's Maimar, the Rebbe explains, is that there's two levels of inspiration. There's the inspiration that God gives us in the month of El, and which is just an inspiration, so to say, to go do our avodah, to do what we have to do. And then there's the avodah of God actually revealing Himself in His full glory, which is on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and therefore the response to that and the elevation that's caused by that is very great. Now he doesn't explain how this works. It's known that in the month of Elul, that is the setting for a person to do the avodah of Anila Dodi, I'm to my beloved, is because there's the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy. If that's the case, if there's the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy, so he's trying to explain now what is really the avodah of Elul of Anila Dodi, I'm to my beloved. So we're trying to understand it because we're saying that on Rosh Hashanah is the revelation from above, and that gives us proper fear and love for Hashem, and we accept Him as King. So how is that different than Elul? Elul, we're saying, is a Tata, it's an awakening from below. It's our avodah towards Hashem. So he says that first but what is Elul? Elul, the reason why Elul is a time, an opportune time for us to do avodah of I'm to my beloved is because there's a revelation of the 13 attributes. But what is this revelation, and how is that different than the revelation that comes as God is King in the month of Tishrei, in the 10 days of Tshuva, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? And that's the whole point of the Maimer. So the Rebbe said like this: to understand all this, basically the difference between Elul and the beginning and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and our avodas and what we have to do. So first the question is, if we're saying that in the month of Elul, there's this revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy, which is also a great revelation of godliness. So it should be like Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and any other holiday. And Shabbos, when there's great revelations, it's no longer a weekday, because the revelation elevates the time out of being a weak, mundane day to being a special day, because there's great revelations of godliness, which that revelation itself elevates us out of a weekly time frame. So therefore, the question is, if there's the revelation of 13 attributes of mercy, which is this great revelation from Hashem, why is Elul a month of week? I mean, a regular month is a regular 6 days of the week, and there's Shabbos. Why isn't it a whole month of holiday? Why is the month of Elul, if there's this revelation of 13 attributes? Reb Shimon, we're just in the beginning of the Maimer Anila Dodi Aleph, which was on page 3. So we'll have to understand this. I'm just reading it out of a different publication. So L'havin, when the last paragraph on the right hand side. So L'havin, why is Elul weekdays and they're not holidays? Like Shabbos Yom Tov, which has revelations. He's scholars with this godly revelation. Which is any holiday has when there's revelations. It elevates the time, like I said, from being weak into Shabbos or Yom Tov. It's not just any revelation, but we're talking about here the revelations of the 13 attributes of mercy, which is itself higher than the whole idea of 13 attributes, is that it's higher than the limitations of creation. So it should take us out of that time frame of creation and create a holiday. Which are great revelations. And that's what's revealed on Yom Kippur. One of the unique things of Yom Kippur is the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy. And no one's going to be foolish enough to think that the month of Elul, as special as it is like Yom Kippur. There's Yom Kippur, which is a special day. We all get fast and we get dressed in white and we daven a whole day. And we have the month of Elul, which is throughout the week. We're mundane. So this is the example the Alter Rebbe gives, the famous example of the king is in the field. The Melech, there's a king, before the king goes to his city of the royal palace and all, is Yoitz and Anshe the cross the people from the city. Now, this the example of Melech Masada seems to be a simple example. Over the years, the Rebbes, different Rebbes, including and our Rebbe has many Maimarim explanations that today also translated in English. It's worth to look at. That is to read is to explain the example in its details. Every point of the detail. For instance, it says that the king is the Melech Shekoid Neboilir. The king is coming to the city, so he's walking towards the city. And here we're saying Yoisi Anshe Ir Lekrasi, the people that are living in the city leave the city to go greet him. And they meet him in the field. So here, there's one point is that we're talking about people that are initially in the city and they go out to the field to meet the king. And in that situation, because it's a casual greeting, it's not the king in his palace where he's all royal and there's no access to the king. But then, on the contrary, va'az rashayin kol mi if anyone could go out and greet the king. For makabelas kulam, not just that you could go greet the king, but the king's response to whomever go and greet him in the field in this casual, so to say, setting is makabel kulam asever upon miyafas. He greets them all in a friendly, kind face, and he's showing a radiance, like a laughing expression towards them. So, like the Rebbe says, these are two methods of the king encouraging the person to go greet him. So the vode over here is the king is in the field, and the king is ready to meet you, but you have to go meet him. And not only do you have to actually take the courage to go introduce yourself to the king and to plead to the king, because not only could you meet him and say hello, but it's also time, like the Rebbe says, to ask what you need to ask for in the month of Elul, and getting ready for Rosh Hashanah. We have all the questions that we have and all the brachas that we need, and the king is listening. But sometimes we're intimidated not to go meet him. So the Alter Rebbe adds, he's not just accessible in the field, but also when you go greet him, he greets you, he responds to you in a nice, kind way. And not only that, in order to inspire you to go up and to meet him, he's maraparim shechakas l'kolim. He shows a laughing, a calm, encouraging face to you that would give you the courage to go greet him and meet him. That's in the field. And then as they leave the field and continue to accompany the king into the city, everyone follows the king. And after the king enters the city, then he goes into his palace. And then all of a sudden the rules change, right? The accessibility that we had while we were in the field, that was then. But now the king goes into his palace, then you have to have permission to go in. Not only that, it's not just anyone. It means you have to have permission in general to get in there. And even to try to apply to be on the list, it's not everyone. You have to be, it's a chidim skula. It's only certain individuals. And those who are unique. Okay, so that's the example. Now, in the Rebbe's Maimarim, and also alluded to in the second Maimer of Ani L'Dodi, there's also the concept of that there's the people that are in the field initially, not just go out of the city to greet the king. And not only that, like the Rebbe adds, there's the people in the midbar, there's the people in the desert. The field is a place anyone could go. So first, even the city people, which are more, so to say, part of the norm of royal life, if their special access is specifically in the field. And even more so the people in the field, and even the people in the desert that are outside the field. And the desert represents, these are all levels of distance from the king, in this case, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he says like this, this is the example of the month of El. This idea that the Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe says that the idea of El is Melech Masada, that a king is in the field, and all the components that we spoke about, the people leaving the city to go greet the king in the field, and the accessibility, and all the questions you could ask, and they're showing a kind face and an encouraging face, and even the people in the field or in the desert, that is El. Yoitzim, therefore, kach inyan adach mashal b'chodesh el comes the month of Elul. Yoitzim lahakbel arpanav yisbarach masada. We all go to meet the king in the field, like it says. Kin yechziv, the verse says, Yor Hashem panav elecha. When we're talking about the priestly blessing, like God shows us Yor Hashem panav elecha. God shows His face, His panav, His actual face, not from the back and not from the side, towards us. Then what does that mean to say Yor Hashem panav elecha? Is the 13 attributes. Shu inyan ha'aras yud gubin midas. That is the 13 attributes. She panim epanim. What does it mean at this 13 attributes? That we're face to face with Hashem. God's ready to have a conversation with us. The hainu shiyar gilui pnimis ritzaynai. That God reveals His inner want. Yisbarach limkar neshamas Yisrael. Sometimes you don't know what God thinks of me. It comes the month of El. What does it mean? The 13 attributes of mercy. The 13 attributes of mercy means that Hashem is showing what He really desires, and that is the Jewish people. Nishmas Yisrael, the souls of the Jewish people. But there has to be response. It's because what we really want in life is Hashem. The dafka by belev v'nefesh, to cleave to Him with our heart and our soul. We aimka deliba from the depth of our heart until the level of Mesiras Nefesh, ready to give our nefesh, our life, whether it's physically, but even more so, to give our life, our ratzon, our wants towards Hashem. And this level of God's showing His desire towards us, and that what really motivates God amongst everything, not just one of the things that God cares for, but the whole reason of creation is the Jewish people, is in the first word of the 13 attributes, Hashem, Hashem, Kel. Kel is the name of kindness. Shureshis kol yud gil midas. That's the first of 13 attributes. It's the source of the 13 attributes from the Kel, which is Chesed, is where 13 attributes comes from, and it includes within it all the details of the 13 attributes. Of Kel Hashem and He lights towards us. The actual infinite light of Hashem is towards us. Like it says, that God is a consuming fire. Peter, what's that mean? Just for example, you have the sparks and the ray that comes out of the fire. It's no difference between the light really and the ray, and the light that's manifest from the source of the light. So too, the attribute of Kel, which is Chesed, is just like the light that manifests from the source of the light is an extension of the light. So too, God's desire towards the Jewish people is an extension of His essence. The point is that it's the essence of God that has a desire to the Jewish people. What does it mean, the essence of God? That the whole purpose of creations is because of the relationship we essentially have with Hashem. And therefore, that is the Vod Devel. The Vod Devel is that God is revealing that to us. And therefore, it's accessible, and therefore we could talk to Him, and we could request from Him. And what Hashem wants to see from us is the response to be equally back towards Hashem that way. Like He says, we show that our inner desires for Kadosh Baruch Hu. V'chein nikar Yisrael, and that's why the name Yisrael is made of the word Sar Kel is 5 letters, right? Yisrael is 5 letters. So if you drop the Yud a second, we'll get back to the Yud in a second. So if you divide the last 4 letters is Sar Kel. We are we are ruled, and so to say, have a rule over the concept of Kel. It means that when you have such an essential relationship, our relationship is so deep that we're like a master to the name Kel. And what is the name Yud? The letter Yud, the beginning of the word Yisrael. Al hismadas ha'peula. It's the consistency. When you have the word Yud before a letter, it's like he says, Kocha Ya'asa. It's talking about Job. Kocha Ya'asa Eve. So Job did. Means he did it constantly. So when you say Yisrael, we're saying, what is Yisrael? Sar Kel. That the name Kel is what rules by us. The chesed of Hashem, His love towards us. And there's a Yud before it to say that's a constant part of our relationship. It's not just once in a while. So together, Yud is the consistency. That's Sar Kel. That Kel, the name of Chesed, is what's love, is what's towards the Jewish people. And he says, the Hainu, Sheish b'chol nefesh misrael, every single Jewish person has, because we're called Yisrael. Everyone's called Yisrael. Nitzis alikus mamish, literally a spark of godliness. Hamachaye nafshe elikis, that gives vitality and life towards our godly soul. Umoishech, and what is the effect of the fact that our soul being connected with actual godliness? Therefore, the effect is umoishech v'tivoy. It draws us naturally, that our natural response and desire is l'mayla le'er baruch chaim, is to be connected to the light of Hashem, the light of life. Limser nafshe, to be able to give our life. Elav yisbarach Hashem means nothing matters more to us than God. And this is greater than any understanding of our soul. It's way beyond any kind of understanding, comprehension. It's not based on logic. It's not because we have a conversation with ourselves and because therefore we love Hashem. It's who we are. It's part of our nature. Because if we were dependent on our chachma and our das and our logic, we would never reach such a level. Logic would never take us so high. The vatal, that so to the extent to nullify the hafkir, to give up. Al atzmi mikol v'kol, that nothing else matters. There's no part of us that matters. B'shvila yisbach, only Hashem. So logic, we can never logically walk ourselves through that conversation. It's only because essentially that's who we are, and therefore our nature is to be that way. And like that's what the verse says. You're like children. Children don't have a conversation with themselves and say, "This is my father, this is my mother." Therefore, we have a relationship. Because a son davu is like an extension of the father. And therefore, there's the desire the father has, and you towards the father is not logical. Just like the foot is nullified to the head, and that the foot doesn't have a conversation with the head. Should it do what the head tells him? When you have an idea to do something, you want to run. The foot doesn't have a conversation. It could be tired and let you know that it's exhausted from running, but it's not going to argue with what it has to do. And therefore, the son is an extension of the father, and therefore it's a natural response what the son or the child has towards the father. And this is what it says in Pirkei Avos, that what you have, who you really are in your, so to say, subconscious, make that relationship conscious. That's what it says. Superficially, you have your own wants. And you may not be plugged in that your central want really is Hashem, but so therefore nullify your want for Hashem's wants. If you want that, it should be revealed within you. That the essential love and want that Hashem has for you, if you can't, it means the want is there, but if you want it to be revealed, it has to be a flow back and forth. And that means to nullify your want to Hashem, so Hashem will reveal that the love and the want that He has towards you. That God has no other desire, and you have no other desire aside for Hashem. Now he explains. So that's what Elul is. The Elul is the revelation of the 13 attributes, the revelation of who we are. But now the Alter Rebbe goes and addresses what I said before, that there's different parts within the person themselves. There's the settled part of the person, which is the Ir Moshe, a person's city. There's the field of the person, and there's the desert of the person. What is the desert of the person? He starts off with Midbar. It's like a desert. It's not a place that you could plant. It's not a place of growth. What is that in our avodas Hashem, in our life? These are the actions, speaks, and thoughts. They're not towards Hashem. Means it's a midbar. There's nothing growing there. It's not. It's just the moment. You're not creating anything. We're not talking about if you've done negative things, even if you did permissible things, but they're not around or involved or motivated by service of Hashem. With wasteful things. You're a king. It's not king-like to be involved in petty things. You're being petty. That's why it says this is a place that man hasn't rested. They was on the image of the chair. The image of God is like an image of man. God doesn't sit in such a place like a desert. It says, make me a temple and I want to rest amongst you. But I want to rest amongst you the way you've done, not the way you live in the desert. So what does a person do? Now he's going into the avoda. That means the setting of Elul and what Elul is and how it's different than Tishrei, we explained in Sif Aleph. Now the Alter is saying, so what is the avoda? What are we doing? Because we have within us, we have the city parts of us, the organized, we have the Sada parts of us, the field, and we have the midbar parts of us. So the midbar could be a place that's totally not connected to Hashem. Whether it's a sin or whether it's just things in the world, even if it's technically permissible, it has no connection to Avodas Hashem. The Sada is engaging in the worldly things, but with a Sada, you're turning into a field. It's a food source. That's when you're taking the mundane and making it holy. Or you could get lost in the field also. Sada is kind of a par of place. It's the Klipas Noga. So Esav also is connected in the field. In this week's parsha, we talked about the girl who's taken advantage of in the field. So that's also referring to the soul. So it says over here, so what do you do if you're a person that's stuck in the desert? So it says, this is the famous teaching of the Rebbe, you must seek from there God your Lord. What does it mean? Pirush, so it says like this, what does it mean seek from there? The verse teaches us in the beginning of creation, that essentially, initially, there was a light, and the light was there, means the goodness of the world was created with the world. Pirush Razal, and what does it mean that it's good? So the Razal teaches us, God said this is a good light, which is connected to godliness and holiness. I'm going to hide it. This inner desire Hashem has, every person is there, but God had hid it in us, and therefore we have the ability through choice to make the wrong choices and to not connect to that light because it's hidden in us, and to connect to darkness. It's hidden, it's concealed. And he says not just anything, but it's deeply concealed within our nature that we want other things. And therefore, it's our job to reveal the essential of what we had. Like we said before, Yisrael is Sar Ekel. You have it, and it's Yud, it's always there, but you have to reveal it because it's hidden. So what happens when you lose something? Because it's not there, it's not revealed. It's not just that it's not revealed, but it gets lost and it gets exiled. The essential spark of your godliness gets exiled. So then what do you do when you lose something? So the pasuk says, you have to seek, you have to look and really examine. And what are you searching for? You're searching for something that's lost. When do you search for something? That's something that's lost. Something that's lost to you. It's been exiled. You've allowed it to be lost, that the life force is now held in galus for other things that you want that are not godly. That the godly spark is now in galus, in exile, because you're putting your wants and your motivation and what drives you into worldly things. It's not, again, a sin in a way is less of a problem, because a sin is a moment of weakness. But if your whole drive and your whole focus on what motivates you is not godly things, that's in a way that's that's much harder to get out of. I mean, it's a mindset. It's not just a person who's trying to do the right thing and makes a mistake. So maybe the action is a lot worse, but there's what you want to do is there. But if a person says, that's not what I want to do, it's not who I am, your whole want that you should have towards Hashem has been lost. So what do you do? What did you lose? Hashem, your Lord, the godliness within you. And like we said before, it's the name Kel, the chesed that's in every person, the great light that's in every person, to give your godly soul a spark, but it's been lost. So how do you find it again? So the pasuk says, the famous teaching of the Rebbe, you have to go where you lost it. Some people try to find something that they've lost in another area, right? If they can't find godliness in the places where they lost God, they say, well, in order for me to feel spiritual, I have to go somewhere else. And the pasuk tells us, no, you need to find God where you lost him. If you lost him in one place, you're not going to find him in another place. Just like you can't lose your wallet in one room and find it in another room. And you have to seek over there. Misham daika, that place. Just like any lost object, you can't search for it and find it in another place, in a place where you didn't lose it. So too, you will not find God that you've lost in another place. And that you should try to find love someplace else. The love that you lost God is not there, and therefore I'm going to go some other place to find God. You have to go deal with the issues that you had initially. Deal with the places and the struggles that you had, because there's where you lost God, so there's where you have to find them again. You could expand what you've lost, what's been lost, but to find Hashem, you have to go back to the place where you started from. We have to seek the way, go back on your path. Examine your actions. Of your speech and your thoughts. The places that the things in the places you've been, the things that have happened to you that have not been positive, you have to re-examine those things that journey that you've taken. That's what it means you must seek over there. There's two things. He says there's two ideas that Alter Rebbe is saying over here. There's Sham as in the place where you lost Hashem, and there's also Sham as the concept of there that's not here. Something that's Sham and there's Zeh. So there's a second level of Sham. There's the first, you have to find God where you lost him. And then there's also the idea that there's Sham. Sham is someplace else, not a place that's not godly. Kiloshin Zeh, when you say this, it's some place that you could point to. This is the situation. Like you say, this is my God. And the only thing you can say this really is is to Hashem. The God fills the whole world, and that's true. That's the true this. But the places of darkness and impurity, that's Sham, that's over there. That's not here. That's not this. Someplace very low. That's what it says about Yirmiyahu says, Karu Sham Pari, the Paroi, which is a negative force, as we all know, is Sham, that's there. He tried to change the timing. He changed the things that should have been for holiness, joy and happiness and holy things. He made it joy and happiness and unholy things. The motivation, the things that drive you, that excites you. What do you wake up and say, wow, when you're excited? Is that you had a good godly moment, or is that you did well in certain things that make you happy, that are not godly? This is what it means. So he's describing the midbar and how do you deal with the midbar. So the midbar is you have to bikash the misham, you have to go back there. And there's not just where you lost God, but there's also a non-godly place. Go back to your non-godly place where you lost Hashem and find him back over there. And then you can have a relationship with Hashem. But if you can try to forget about Sham, the places where you lost God, and just find them somewhere else, that's not going to work. But he says, in this desert, you're going to die. Pirush, what does that mean? So the positive of midbar is also from the word dibur, speech. That through speech you could kill the desert, the negativity. This is my God. So whether it's the speech of prayer or the speech of Torah, that's talking about Torah. This is the word of God. And how do you deal with it? Through speech of tefillah, of prayer, and speech of Torah, is yitamu, you put to death. Not only do you put to death the negativity, but you become complete. And the word tamim, yitamu also means the word tamim, complete. V'sham yamusu, and the sham gets dead. So the zeh becomes alive. The zeh keli vanveu, the godliness within you becomes a priority, becomes your motivation, and the sham is yamusu. The things of negativity that dies. And that is the idea that you go and you grab the sparks that fell into Sham through Elecha Hashem Nafshi Esa, through becoming close to Hashem. By son you took us out of there. Again, Sham, you took us out of the negativity, the dark place, the place then we were talking about is, of course, Paro, but it's applicable to all the Shams of our life. God took us away from the negativity, from the impurity, to cleave to Hashem. So he's saying that's all, even a person who is just, the problem was motivation. The problem is what drives you. The problem is if you're godly conscious, if you're godly driven. But he says, but however, what happens if it got a little worse? So I was saying before, we said that in ways to be driven by non-godly things is worse than the actual sin. But at the end of the day, there's the flip side, there's the sin. At the end, you didn't do a sin. You just weren't focusing your priorities and your motivations from the right source. But what happens if you actually did do sin? But if you did do something damaging, whether it's in thought, speech, or action, it's not enough to be taken out of there or to deal with there, but you have to seek from there, deal with your issues, the things that were not really good, that should create a merirus, a bitterness, that is a drive of Yashav al Hashem, that you want to return to God because you're bitter from your distance, and therefore God will have compassion on you. I know what it means is that it's not talking about that you say I'm sorry, but you need to get deeper than that. That God, you should arouse great compassion on your spark, on your soul, that got so deep lost in the galus and the exile of your own personal exile. And that's why the verse says that chesed, we said, is the spark of godliness in every person. But if the chesed gets trapped, and not just trapped in focus, but trapped in negative actions, so therefore we say the pasuk Yaakov, which is the attribute of compassion, Asher Padas Avram, that redeems Avram. Chesed gets redeemed. The chesed spark gets redeemed by God's compassion for us. Kimidis Yaakov midas rachmanis. Yaakov is the attribute of compassion. That redeems the love we have for Hashem. God has a compassion in us, and He redeems the love that's been now towards other things. The love didn't change. It's just what we put our love towards. And to redeem it, then now our love should go towards Hashem. That love that we have was given to us by Avram, but now it's been trapped. And we've used it towards other things, and it has to be redeemed. And it's the compassion that Hashem has for us. The name that's revealed in the name Yaakov, that gives us the ability to redeem the name of the name Kel, the attribute of Chesed from Avram. And therefore, it's our father, meaning we get from Avram the like a father gives to his child, we get the attribute of Chesed, which is the spark of godliness we have. And therefore, we should that once it gets redeemed, it reveals the relationship of son to the father, and therefore the effect is that we should be bottled towards Hashem. We should now nullify and only want that our ratzon, our desire is only towards Hashem. But the problem is that sometimes we know it's wrong, but we're still not feeling sorry for ourselves. I don't mean feeling sorry in a negative way. I'm talking about feeling sorry in a compassionate way. We're trying to have a actual feeling of Rahmanas on our spark. We can't awaken it. We're not feeling bitter at all. You're trying. You're applying yourself. How your soul fell into this exile. So, but you still can't awaken a response to that knowledge. It's the knowledge is a disconnect to how you're feeling. So what do you do then? Right? Nothing is lost. So the Alter Rebbe says, a person has to figure like this. A person has to have this feeling, apply this example to themselves. A person that's connected, that their body is connected, everything is healthy. But if there's something that there's pain in the body, let's say you even hurt your footnail, your toenail, let's say you stub your toe into the wall, into a stone. It's Margish Cave. You feel the pain. Why? Because it's connected. And where do you feel the pain? It's the brain, because the nerve system is working, and therefore your mind feels the pain of the stumbling of your toe on the rock, and therefore mitzvah you have pain. That only works if your toe is connected, and therefore there was no disconnect. If you, God forbid, were to disconnect the limb, you could, if you, God forbid, disconnected a limb from a body, you could hit the limb from today till tomorrow. The body doesn't know anything about it because there's no connection. It's uprooted from its connection. So too, a person should realize, the Jewish people, we're constantly connected to Hashem. Therefore, our natural response is we should feel pain. We should feel pain when things aren't going well spiritually in our life, when our godliness is not being revealed. Anytime we do an Avera, it should feel like we kicked our foot into the wall, and we're not feeling that. By doing the sin, we brought our spark down into exile. Because even if we sin, we're still Yisrael, we're still connected. So why aren't we feeling? We have a spark. It doesn't leave us, it's just exile. We didn't even lose our name. It's not like we lose our name, Yisrael. It says, even if a person sins, Yisrael, you're still Yisrael. Yes, you hurt your foot, you did a damage, but you're still part of this. You're still Yisrael. You still have a nefesh elikis. You still have that spark. Even if the sar is imprisoned, the sar, this is still a sar is a minister, still a minister. The miles meheaded, it's higher than just a common person. It's still that this is a minister that's in prison. And just with a quick maneuver in Shuva, you could get back to stop doing what you're doing because you're connected, and there's still the feelings of connection, and you feel the pain of the damage that's been done by doing the sin. But if you're not feeling it, you don't even recognize that you're disconnected. So then you're like a limb that's been disconnected. And that's why you're not feeling anything. Therefore, what's the person going to realize? When a person says, 1 second, if I'm not feeling, I know what I did is wrong, but I don't feel that I've done anything wrong. I don't feel like there's a problem here. So then you realize, why don't you feel there's a problem? That means you're so disconnected. You're like a limb that's been disconnected. So how are you going to respond to that information? But that, on the contrary, when you realize that the reason you're not feeling is because you're disconnected, all of a sudden you have tremendous compassion. How did I get such a situation that I'm not only that I do a sin, but I'm disconnected? If you don't feel it, you're feeling bad that you don't feel it. You're saying, what happened to me? I've come to such a situation that I don't even feel it. Like we say in the davening, God, we ask God, you know how bad we are. You know how bad we've fallen. So you have with your great compassion, have compassion on us. It's because with our simple mind, we're not recognizing the great compassion we need to have in ourselves. Because God's great compassion can go from one extreme to the next, all the way down to the situation where there needs to have compassion because we're not feeling anything. So he says, here the Rebbe says that we have to understand one thing in the example, that it's not just that a person says, well, if I'm disconnected, right? What are you going to do? It's too late. It's disconnected. It's not like that. Because we can, when it comes spiritually, we can reconnect. And even though right now there's no feeling, but if you reconnect, then you're just like you're connected and you have feeling again. So he says, through tshuva, the idea here of tshuva, and a person even has just the thoughts of tshuva, one thought of tshuva, you're able to reconnect and connect back to your root. As it is explained, for example, even in a situation where the person is so disconnected, that it's not just a small limb that's disconnected, but the whole head is disconnected from the entire body. But if there would be a method to reconnect the body to the head, that would be that's the idea of reconnecting a person through tshuva. And he brings other sources to this idea. So he says, what happens but that if a person still doesn't feel? It means you're disconnected. You know the reason you're disconnected, the reason you're not feeling is because you're disconnected. So seemingly you should feel bad that I'm so disconnected that I don't even feel it. It says, no, you still don't feel anything. So what do you do then? If you still can't awaken any compassion, so this is the suggestion is that you have to go amongst the roses. What does that mean, go amongst the roses, pasture amongst the roses? Just like the rose goes from red color to white color if you put it by fire. So if your sins make you like red, I could turn it into white. When a person does sin, it's like a red rose. And not just the sin, but anything that's not godly is like the red rose, which the color red is the red connected to sin. This is all the different schemes of the Yetzer Hara, of the side of the negative. So how do you turn the Gavan Chiver to white? Like that's why we wear white on Yom Kippur. That God whitens us like snow is through fire. There's two ways that this fire could be applied to change the redness to white. A heavenly fire, not everyone's worthy for that heavenly fire to make them white. There are things that a person could do, whether it is certain fasts. Some people are accustomed to fast in the month of El, or other kind of physical exercises that are hard on the body, that you put. It's like you're burning it through certain challenges you put yourself through. That should break the gashmi, the physicality of the person. Like when a person fasts, you lose weight, you lose fat, you lose blood. So too, when you do certain sigufim, you do certain kindness, certain experiences of challenge on yourself physically. Again, everything that has to be ran by your local rabbi, not to take on yourself any ideas because that has to be, you have to be careful today. Nevertheless, we do it a little bit, something to kind of, whether let's say if you eat breakfast every day at 8 o'clock, if you eat 8:30, something a little bit to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, so that you could actually, through the pain, the physical pain that you're going through, or it's called the physical discomfort that you're going through, kind of will awaken some sort of compassion and feeling towards Hashem. So shehum misitra the klipa naiga, and that kind of going through an experience of a little bit of uncomfortableness. And again, back in the days, they did extreme situations. People were rolling in the snow. People were fasting. My great grandfather used to fast the whole month of El for in the morning. And why? This is the idea of going based on what the Alter Rebbe is saying. You're going through experiences of challenge in order to awaken feeling. To remember you're spiritually alive. See. So he says again, this is something you should run by your local mashpia, not to take on any resolutions on your own. Another thing a person has to remember, the Rebbe says that it says in the verse in Shir Hashirim b'shvakim uvar chayvos avaksha esha v'nafshi acha masasi esha nafshi achazti v'le'arpenu acha v'esiv v'beis im v'al cheder herois. It's talking about they said like this b'shvakim uvar chayvos, that I went to all the alleyways and the streets, and I seeked the one who I loved, the love of my soul, until I found the love of my soul, and I grabbed them, I grasped them, and I wouldn't let go, and I brought them to my mother's home, to my parents' bedroom. Okay, that's the Shir Hashim. That's an emotional. That's an example of finding our soul and bringing it back home, bringing it back to a place of holiness. Sha'ava nafshi becomes what's it mean? Sha'ava nafshi. I once loved the love of my life. Lashon kfar. I loved I had a love for Hashem. Ava kfar. Something that I have. It's not a new love that I'm finding. Hainu ki Yisrael olav machshav. The love was already there. The love was there from when God created the Jewish people. From God created the world. Yisrael olav machshav akduma. God, the Jewish people entered an initial thought before creation. V'zeh b'chinas tahiri. That's how we say in the bracha. Neshamash and Asata Tahiri, it's pure even before Barasa, even before it's created. Only after we say Ata Barasa. When we recognize the Tahiri, the purity, we get back to the pure essential love that Hashem had for us in the beginning. Sha'av nafshi, that God loved us. And in there, in Tahiri is the hidden love that a Jew has towards Hashem and Hashem towards us. It's the light that lignois. That's sha'avi nafshi kfar. That's why the love has been installed within us. What does it mean to seek my love in the valleys and the roads? It means you have to seek the love in the place where you lost it. But it's not enough just to find what you've lost, because you could lose it again. If you lost it once, there's nothing preventing. From just the fact that you go back, here the Alter Rebbe says something interesting, that just because you go back and you find where you lost your place, you go to the road, right? You go to the alleyways where you lost God, you go to the dark streets where you lost God and you find him there. But how are you going to make sure that you don't lose him again? So he says, even if you found the lost article, in this case we're talking about your love for Hashem, and you lay sky by our Hashem built kalim, you need to have vessels. You need to have a receptacle to put it in. You need to have a system, a strategy. Because if you have no vessels, nothing to put it in, so that the light leaves. Like anything, you have nothing to put it in as it goes away. So what is the suggestion a person should do? Is Asas Kem La Hashem, you must make vessels. And what are the vessels? You must study Torah. So it's not enough to say I feel godly, I feel spiritual. I found God in the same places I lost him. I went to the alleyways where I lost Esra Nafshi, the one I once loved. But that's why he says it's not enough to love him. You have to grab him or grab her and bring her back to my mother's room. Now you have to bring her back home to the words of Torah. And when you ground it in the words of Torah, then the love has something, has kalim, has vessels. He base imi. What does it mean to bring her to my mother's home? That's the written Torah. What's my parents' bedroom? That's Torah Shabbat. That's the oral law. God is an all-consuming fire. Just like godliness, it means you grabbed God. You found him in the street. You found him in the roads. You found him in the alleyways. But it's like a fire. What are you going to do with the fire? It needs something to hold on to. Just like a fire cannot remain without a psil, without a wick, or anything else the fire has to hold on to. Therefore, it's not enough to find God. You have to grab him and bring him somewhere. And bring him through what? Into Torah, into Torah Shebechsav, into the written and oral Torah. Like it says in the pasuk, what does it mean also to pasture by the roses? The word Sheshanim doesn't just mean roses, it also means Sheshona, halachas, the one who studies the laws. In the laws of Torah is where you could ground your love for Hashem. That's why the word is a pasturing. Just like a pasture, just like a roya, a pasture gives sustenance to the sheep, so too by studying Torah, we're giving substance to Hashem. We're giving substance to the relationship. Because by studying what God desires, which is the Torah, then we have a back and forth relationship. Our spirit grasps God, and God responds. Like God's desire towards us is revealed to us. Just like when a person eats, it keeps their body and soul together. And the body and the soul could function properly through the body when you're healthy and fed. So too, we give sustenance to Hashem by our studying Torah mitzvahs, and that's how we ground the relationship. You find the fire, you find the love, even if you find it in the valleys where you lost it, in the alleys where you lost it. But it needs to find the home. The home is Torah mitzvahs. That the inner desire Hashem has, that how does God show his passion and love towards us? Is through the words of Torah. Not just the Torah, but also through action, through acts of kindness and charity. The attribute of kindness. That the love is the internal connection to Hashem is through Torah mitzvahs, and externally to grasp it is through the ma'aseh of tzedakah. Like we say, that with your great radiant face you gave us the Torah of life and the love of chesed. There's two ways to grasp God. One is through the vessels of Torah and the vessels of chesed of tzedakah. Okay, again, it's a beautiful mimer, and the kitzur we'll learn on our own. All right, everyone, Laila Tov, and we have a lot of work. But we have to go to the field, meet the king, accept God as Melech, and go with Kashta Misham. We must go over there to meet Hashem. Laila Tov, everyone. Thanks, Rav Shimon, and thank you everyone who was on YouTube watching. Take care.